You know that feeling, right? That intense frustration when you have this amazing idea, like a whole scene or a thought just bursting out.
Yeah, it's fully formed in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you just cannot get it to fit into those, those neat little boxes of how we're told to write.
Uh-huh. That gallon in a pint glass problem.
Yeah.
It's a really good analogy.
It really is.
Yeah.
It feels like this universal creative blockage. But for some people, it's way more intense, almost crippling sometimes.
Absolutely. And that's what this deep dive is really about. We're looking at a completely different way to think about writing, specifically for folks called Gestalt Language Processors, or GLPs.
Okay.
But honestly, even if that term's new to you, if you've ever felt that kind of mismatch, that friction between your inner world and getting words down, well, this is definitely for you.
Right. So we're going to dig into why the usual ways of teaching writing often just don't land. Not that they're bad, necessarily.
Yeah, not at all.
But they assume this very step-by-step process that just doesn't click with how lots of minds work, especially GLPs.
That's the core issue.
So our mission today is really to unpack this work by Jaime Hoerricks, her GLP Guide to Writing on Our Terms. It sounds like it offers a kind of map,
Yeah.
from speaking to writing.
Exactly. A map that honors your own rhythm, the meaning that's already there, your voice. It's really about finding your way to write, not someone else's.
Okay, so let's start with the traditional model. Why does that factory line approach cause problems?
Well, think about typical writing class. It almost always starts small, right? Focus on the sentence first, then build a paragraph, then maybe an outline, then the whole essay.
Yeah, very sequential, brick by brick.
Precisely, like a factory line. Each bit has to be perfect before you move on. The whole system assumes language starts in these little manageable pieces, bricks, like you said,
Yeah.
and you just assemble them carefully.
Okay, so if it doesn't start with bricks for GRPs, what's it actually like for them? How does the language arrive?
Ah, that's the key difference. For many people, particularly GLPs, it's not bricks. It's the whole building, all at once. Or maybe the feeling of walking into that building for the first time.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like a landscape that's already alive in your mind, or maybe a phrase you remember perfectly, or a rhythm. It has its own structure, its own feeling. The meaning and the rhythm land before you even think about grammar. It's a whole intact package.
And I guess when you try and shove that whole building, that living landscape, into these narrow little funnels like a topic sentence or one of those graphic organizers.
Oh, those organizers.
Yeah, it doesn't just slow things down. It sounds like it actually breaks something. It fractures the process.
It really does. You can almost see it on the page, can't you? The student's struggling.
Yeah, I can picture it. What does that look like? And what's the emotional hit?
You see details scribbled in the margins, arrows going everywhere, looping back. Those little boxes on the organizer are half empty, or just a total jumble.
A battlefield, she calls it.
That's a good word for it. And the internal damage, that's the really crucial part. The teacher might see the mess and think, oh, they can't organize their thoughts.
And the student hears that or feels it.
And they absorb it. They start to think they're the problem, that they're flawed, not the tool, not the organizer.
Right. So every writing task becomes this new source of frustration, trying to shrink something huge and alive into a box that was never meant for it.
Exactly. And that tension, that feeling of failure, it builds up.
And eventually it just hardens into avoidance, right? That joy you might have had with words just gets buried.
Totally. And the student ends up truly believing, I just can't write.
When the real truth, as you're saying, isn't that they couldn't write, it's that the container was wrong the whole time.
Precisely. It wasn't a failure. It was maybe an incubation period that just looked messy from the outside.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective for anyone who's felt that writing inadequacy.
It is. The job isn't to teach them to pour more neatly into the tiny cup. It's about building a vessel that's actually big enough.
Okay, so how do we build that bigger vessel? How do we find a process that actually respects that gallon of story? This is where Jaime Hoerricks' work comes in, right? Her GERC process.
Yes, the Gestalt, Echo, Resonance, and Container Model, GERC. And it's definitely not a straight road. Think more like a spiral staircase. You circle around, revisit steps.
Okay, let's walk up those stairs. Stage 1, Gestalt, capturing the whole thing.
Right. So for many GLPs, language doesn't show up as like a single word to build on. It arrives whole, an intact package.
What's in the package?
Meaning emotion, rhythm, context. The whole shebang. It could be a complete scene playing out in your head, a really vivid memory, a phrase someone said.
Or even a line from a movie.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Or just the way a friend's voice sounded, the tone, the pauses, even the feeling of the room you're in, the light, the sounds. It's all part of the gestalt.
Wow. So the first step is just capture that exactly as it arrived. Don't try and break it down or fix the grammar yet.
Exactly. Just get it down. Mutter it into your phone. Scribble it on whatever's handy. Make a voice memo in the middle of the night.
It's like respecting the raw material. Don't mess with it yet.
You got it. Completeness here isn't about perfect sentences. It's about the integrity of that initial piece. Trust that it surfaced for a reason, even if it's just a fragment. That fragment is the whole thing, for now.
Okay, so you've captured the gestalt. What's next? Stage 2. Echo. Living with the line.
Yeah, echo. This is where you carry that captured gestalt around with you. Hoerricks says, like a pebble in my pocket. It's this intimate rehearsal.
So, repeating it, but not like rote memorization. More like feeling it out.
Precisely. You're deepening your connection to it. Say it out loud while you're doing dishes. See how it sounds. Scribble it down again. See how it looks on the page. Try saying it in different tones, different moods.
I can see how someone on the outside might think, okay, they're just stuck on that one phrase.
Right. That's a common misunderstanding. But for the GLP writer, it's not being stuck. It's more like feeling out where it wants to go next.
Like a musician playing a riff over and over.
Exactly like that. Running the riff, trying little variations, listening for where the next note wants to fall. And the echo isn't static either. It might change shape a bit, or it might pull other gestalts into the mix. This is where that looping and spiraling really starts to happen.
Okay, makes sense. Then stage 3, resonance. Finding the why. This sounds like where the deeper meaning starts to emerge.
It really is. Resonance is that moment when the echo starts to, as Hoerricks puts it, hum differently. It's when you begin to understand why this particular line, this gestalt, has stuck with you.
Like that aha moment. When a song you've been humming suddenly makes perfect sense for how you're feeling.
Exactly that kind of click. It might be a direct connection. Oh, that sounds just like my grandmother. Or it could be more abstract, like the rhythm reminds you of a certain place or a feeling or who you used to be.
So how do you explore that resonance?
It often involves things like free writing around the line, just letting associations spill out. Or maybe drawing connections, like a mind map. Or even matching the feeling of the line to music or images.
The goal isn't necessarily perfect clarity yet, but more depth.
Depth over clarity, exactly. You're exploring all the other shapes, feelings, and memories packed inside that original gestalt. And this stage is often where you loop back too. Uncovering a new layer might send you right back to the echo stage, or even to capture a new gestalt that surfaced.
It really is a spiral staircase.
Yeah.
Okay, so only after gestalt, echo, and resonance, then you get to stage 4, container, giving it a home.
Yes, only then. And notice the question isn't, how do I force this into a 5-paragraph essay?
Yeah, it's what kind of home does this thing need?
Yeah.
That's a total flip from standard practice.
It's huge, because the container could be anything. Maybe it needs to be a poem, or a short story, maybe an unsent letter. Or yeah, maybe it does become a long article. But the form emerges from the content. It fits the rhythm and the truth you discovered in the earlier stages.
Which is the opposite of school, where usually the container, the essay, the book report is decided before you even start exploring the idea.
Exactly. Hoerricks mentions how poems would just sort of show up in the middle of her articles uninvited.
And teachers would get cross.
Yeah, because it didn't fit the expected container. But for her, it wasn't defiance. It was just the only way the writing could come out authentically, following her process.
She says her writing can't start by trying to fit a mold. It has to, grow its own skin before it's ready to be dressed.
Isn't that a great line? It perfectly captures that organic inside-out process.
It really does. Okay, so understanding this GERC process, how can we, teachers, parents, support teams, actually make space for this? For teachers, you mentioned portfolio assessment instead of just timed essays. Why is that so key?
Because it honors the time this process takes. That slow burn development of voice, the echoing, the resonating. That doesn't happen in a 45-minute timed write.
Right. A final draft might represent weeks of internal work.
Exactly. Portfolios let you see that journey. And multimodal drafting is huge, too. Let kids start with talking it out, drawing it, using images, voice notes, whatever captures that initial gestalt before they have to wrestle it into paragraphs.
It preserves the original feeling, the sensory stuff.
Yes, and it means adjusting expectations. Don't demand sophisticated analytical structures from a student who's still in the early stages of their own language development, finding their voice. It's not about lowering standards, it's about meeting them where they genuinely are.
Makes sense. And for like special education teams, IEPs, 504s, it sounds crucial to get these kinds of supports actually written into the plan.
Absolutely imperative, because you can't assume every teacher will intuitively get this.
Right.
Formalizing it ensures access, it protects the student's process.
So what would that look like practically in an IEP?
Okay, so instead of just saying access to voice to text, you'd specify how it's used maybe for initial drafting, for capturing gestalts.
Not just as a fancy spell checker.
Right. Or extra time, specify what for. Is it for the echo stage? For resonance, does the student get a quiet space for that? You might explicitly write in. Student may use multimodal pre-writing, audio-visual, before written text.
And allowing different planning tools, not just the standard organizer.
Definitely. Mind maps, storyboards, even just talking through an outline and recording it. And maybe the most important, adding protection against being graded too early on structure, something like work assessed based on alignment with students' current language stage, not just ticking off structural boxes prematurely. It's about giving them the tools and the space their process requires.
Got it. And for parents, it seems like the big message is patience, right? Resisting that urge to push them towards the curriculum timeline.
Yes, that pressure to catch up can be so damaging, especially early on. If your child tells amazing stories out loud but struggles to write them, value the spoken story first.
So record them. Write them down for them.
Yes. Transcribe them. Read them back together. Act them out. Draw pictures for them. Show them their ideas matter, that their voice is powerful even before it hits the page perfectly. Validate the story before the sentence.
And if you're homeschooling, avoid trying to recreate school at home.
Please. Don't just replicate those rigid sequences. And definitely steer clear of things like analytical grammar, which Hoerricks specifically mentions, is built for analytic thinkers and can really harm a Gestalt processor's confidence.
So instead,
meet them where they are. Let them narrate while you type. Make books together. Start with audio. Build from those lines they already know and love, those gestalts they carry. Help them explore and actually enjoy the language they already possess. That way, their written voice will eventually be their own, not some forced imitation.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's tackle some pushback. What about the argument, well, that's nice, but it isn't real writing?
Ah, yes, the real writing police. That often comes from a very narrow idea of what writing is, doesn't it? That myth of the solitary writer in a cabin.
The genius myth, yeah. Hoerricks connects it to linearity, maybe even whiteness.
Right. It ignores that for many people, including GLPs, the process looks very different. Words might scatter, bounce around, repeat, disappear, and come back.
So the storytelling, the echoing, the scribbled notes, the poem in the middle of the article, that is the writing.
That is part of the writing process. It is writing. And it's often not solitary. She mentions the Finding Forrester idea. Yeah. Sometimes you need someone else there, listening, typing, just reflecting things back.
So the key question isn't, does this look like standard writing?
No. The question is, does this sound like mine? Does it capture my voice, my meaning?
Okay. Pushback number 2. They'll never learn to write a proper essay this way. How do you respond to that?
Well, Hoerricks herself is kind of the proof here, isn't she? She talks about publishing her first piece at 36, a technical article, of all things.
Right, about Photoshop forensics. And it did well.
Became a bestseller, apparently. And that opened the door. She's written thousands of pieces since, books, poetry.
So she did learn to write in traditional forms eventually.
Yes. But crucially, she says it happened because she wasn't forced into that mold too early. When she was ready, when her internal process was strong, then she could step into those forms without losing her own voice, her own cadence. The structure grew from the inside out.
It wasn't imposed from the outside in.
Exactly. It's about readiness, not force.
And the final, maybe most common pushback. We just don't have time for all this.
Ah, the time argument. The capitalist clock, as she calls it. Always measuring progress by speed.
But this process sounds like it needs, well, the opposite of speed.
It needs time, yes, and space. And energy. It needs permission to breathe, to circle back, to rest, to wander, even to play. It can't be rushed.
But what's the payoff for allowing that time?
When you allow it, resistance melts. That feeling of burnout eases up. And paradoxically, perhaps, the work often gets done sooner in real terms, and it's certainly truer to the writer, than if you're constantly fighting against a false sense of urgency imposed by someone else's schedule.
Working with the grain, not against it.
It's exactly.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the core message seems to be, for GLPs, writing isn't about following a template. It's about making what's inside legible while keeping its unique shape, its rhythm, its voice intact.
It's Gestalt Echo Resonance Container, GERC.
And this path, as Hoerricks says so powerfully, it's not a lesser path, it's ours.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads to a final thought for you listening right now. How could embracing a more organic process, one that really values the rhythm and wholeness of your own ideas first, how could that unlock your authentic voice?
Yeah, could this idea of reclaiming writing apply beyond just writing? To other creative work, or even how you approach problems?
Could letting things grow their own skin before you try to dress them. Could
You
that
see?
work in other areas of your life too? Something to maybe mull over.